What's up? It's your girl Ty Young, and I'm checking out Scoop B Radio.
Scoopy Radio in your area code, on the plane, on the train, everywhere you want to be. I am your host, Brandon Scoopy Robinson. Make sure to subscribe to Scoopy Radio on all streaming platforms. Make sure to subscribe to Scoop B on YouTube and everywhere in between. We got basketball royalty in the building right now. We are joined by none other than Ty Young. Young Holla, what's going on?
What's good, Scoop B?
Trying to make $1 out of 15 cents?
Listen, I'm trying to do the same.
Word. You got a lot going on. I'm actually enjoying this episode because it's layered. You've got reality television, you have basketball. And just in doing my research, you cool with all the NBA players that I know was legit. So I know you must be legit.
I should be legit, like I do got some NBA guys, that's my folks. Even some of the guys that I don't have like close personal relationships with, when I meet them or when, other people are around, they bring it up that, they have respect and love for me as well. So I guess I got some type of good vibes, good energy.
Do you think, I mean, there are people throughout the WNBA that cross over seamlessly, you obviously being one of them, Becky Hammon being one of them. Do you ever see a scenario where you could see yourself on a bench of an NBA team being a head or an assistant coach?
I do. When I first did the coaching program, a lot of the work we did was for the NBA or for the NBA G League. It wasn't WNBA, it wasn't college. And so there were things that I had to learn. Whereas, I feel like one day I could be sitting in one of those seats.
You look at Greg Popovich, now the president of basketball operations with the San Antonio Spurs, aligned with the same organization that your main man, Chris Paul, point guard for the San Antonio Spurs, is part of. How forward-thinking do you think both Coach Popovich and Becky Hammon were in the evolution of seamless basketball where people are respected equally, part of Martin Luther King's dream?
It's just about people respecting it and giving you the opportunity. Popovich was the one that gave Becky the opportunity and she excelled and moved on back to the W where she's won championships. And I believe, it starts with that, just giving an opportunity, just being able to lay the foundation where you are willing to open those doors. And, we're slowly climbing up, but I feel like it's getting there.
Ty Young joins us on Scoopy Radio talking all things NBA, WNBA, and also some basketball wise. We'll get to that in a minute. But Ty, you're fascinating to me for a lot of reasons. Number one, you are Laney High School's all-time leading scorer in basketball. Now, Michael Jordan went to Laney. Are you the all-time leading scorer? So have you scored more points than Michael, or is that just for girls basketball at Laney?
No, so I'm not the all-time leading scorer. I did score more points than MJ, but I'm not the all-time leading scorer.
Who is?
Um, I don't know, honestly. And I believe this young lady actually passed my scoring record as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So
You being from Wilmington,
I can't keep up with records, honestly,
records are meant to be broken. LeBron scored over 40,000, but the one record that I haven't seen anybody break yet on the NBA side is John Stockton's assist record, though.
Yeah, that's true. It's now in time. You don't get a lot of people that want to just pass the ball that much.
Facts.
He passed the ball. He's up there with the assists, but it's hard to come by players because now you got point guards that they want to score too.
Facts. I want to go back to that Laney High School thing because that's significant. And I think people gloss past that because you have so much going on. Reality TV, being one of the originators of the League Fits that now everybody's running on social media and beyond. I want to circle back to that Laney High School and Michael Jordan thing. Was that ever a conversation that you and Michael actually had?
No. So when I first met Michael, was in Chicago in the store Barney's. And I didn't see him at first, on my phone. I was with my best friend who's also from Wilmington, but he went to a different high school. Sucks for him, but he's like, there go MJ, just so casually. And I'm like, MJ who? He's like, Michael Jordan, fool. And I look, when I tell you my heart and stomach dropped, like I've never seen myself not able to say a word. Like I'm looking at him like, oh shit, this is MJ. And so my best friend is telling him like, yo, my best friend Ty Young, she went to Laney as well. He's like, oh, really? And I'm just like standing there smiling with nothing to say.
You know I'm mad as hell with you, right? How?
We didn't really have a conversation. I took a picture with him, but that was it. But I can say he remembered me because when I went, later to NBA All-Star, he had his party that he always
Oh
has.
yes.
And he recognized me, he gave me a hug, showed me some love, and I was like, all right, I didn't really have much to say when I first met him, but he knows who I am.
Ty, we have something in common.
What?
When I started my radio career as a child working for the Nets in '97, I was actually around the Last Dance Bulls, and you know how when you walk in the locker room, there's that part of the locker room that the stars are in, and they hide out from the media.
Right.
I was a cute kid, so I used to be able to cut through that room with no problem. And I met Michael, and I turned to my left, I look, and he looks at me and smiles, and I'm like, and I couldn't say shit.
I mean, even though you were a kid and I was an adult,
Yes,
it's like you species. I'm like, I'm not expecting to see MJ and Barney's. Like, huh?
but you picked up your spare on that next try, and you connected with him at MJ's party.
Yeah, I had to.
I
I got
rock,
to pick up the spare.
I
Can't
rock,
leave my standing.
I rock with it. I rock with it. You're an alum of James Madison. I'm sorry to hear that. I went to Hofstra University, both CAA
Hey,
dwellers.
yeah, you see it.
I see it. I see
Yeah.
that.
Don't be mad.
I ain't bad.
Get
James.
you on one. I get you a hat you on one, JMU.
I mean, if you sign it, I'll take it.
Okay, I got you.
We there. So you went the eighth pick in the 2008 WNBA draft to the Atlanta Dream. You spent time with the Dream. You spent time with the Chicago Sky. You spent time with the Las Vegas Aces. You played overseas. Which time did you enjoy the most as a WNBA player? And what city?
Mm, I spent the most time in Chicago. Um, the best time I would probably say was actually my last year there when I got traded. Just because I felt the growth as a player, and my role and just being able to play more freely.
Mhm.
I was just in a different headspace mentally. But then also when I was traded to Las Vegas, that's one of the best organizations I've ever played for.
Mhm.
Like from top to bottom, just the way they handle everything, the players, the marketing, like they just took care of us. And I'm grateful, for every team because like I was the first draft pick for Atlanta, so I definitely love being in Atlanta too. That's close to home, but overall with my experience, playing wise, like mentally freely, Chicago, but then ultimately Las Vegas, organization wise and everything standing during that time of my career.
Why are Asia Wilson and Angel Reese such trendsetters in the WNBA?
Well, for different reasons, starting in college, great, college career, Black women who are themselves, being authentic, but they're great people as well. And I feel like when you are a great person, great things are bound to happen for you. And being able to be in both of their lives, their first years in the league as a coach for Angel, as a player with Asia, is just a respect level that they both showed, but like gratitude and just hard work. They both work extremely hard. And that's just the way to set the standard to continue to grow, to continue to get better. But they both listen. They didn't come in as rookies with the, attention that they were already getting as if they knew it all. They still wanted to learn, they still wanted to grow. And I think that's what makes them who they are.
When I look at the history of the NBA specifically, 1979, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird saved the league. But I also feel like the NBA has often used narratives to drive views, traffic, and what have you. The black white thing has always been a thing, but I feel like in the case of Caitlyn Clark specifically, people were shocked. I'm going to use this phrase that she was actually with the shits in the sense of she was politically aware. She wasn't feeding into that narrative. As a person who was an assistant coach with the Chicago Sky, who faced the Indiana Fever and saw Caitlyn Was there anything about Caitlyn Clark specifically that surprised you in that notion?
What surprised me really was that she wasn't scared. You know, white girl coming into the league with all this star power, all this attention. It's like she really didn't back down. There were times where she, played the victim in incidents on the court, as if like she didn't do a little bit of dirty work too. But like she didn't back down. And I think that's what makes, Caitlyn great. Aside from her game, she's not afraid,
Yeah.
especially as a rookie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was the person who asked Angel Reese about Kamala and Trump in that question that went viral.
Okay.
The reason why I'm bringing that up is because I felt like a lot of Caitlyn supporters kind of looked like, wow. So it was almost like Caitlyn and Angel did a reverse. What do you think the biggest misconception about Angel Reese is?
That she wants to do everything else aside from basketball. Even from things that I've endured, it's like once they see you as a basketball player, they want to keep you in that box. Angel is not only a basketball player, she's a young lady who just graduated college, making great money, a businesswoman. Like she's pushing the envelope, and you can't box her in. And she's a great kid. She's a great person, and people get so misconstrued because they see she's doing so much that it's like, oh, well, when do you have time to work on your game? But as humans, we make time for what we want to make time for. You're not going to see everything. You see things, bits and pieces on social media, but you don't know a person's full circle life. And that's the misconception of her, that I know she puts the work in and she works hard and she's a dog and she loves the game.
Ty Young joins us on Scoopy Radio, talking all things WNBA. Paige Buchers is the next it thing this year. She doesn't post on Twitter a lot. She's thoughtful. She wears Devin Booker sneakers, and I think she also wears Sabrina Ionescu sneakers as well. Those sneakers cross over quite a bit in both leagues. Putting your coaching hat on, because you are a future coach, putting your coaching hat on, what are your early scouting reports and observations about her?
Well, the biggest adjustment for college players to the big league is strength, and learning the pace. The pace is so much faster. Paige is a great college player. She's just starting her pro career. She's a great passer. So as a coach scouting her, you have to be aggressive. You be physical with her. And personally, for me, if I was coaching, I would use a guard with size while guarding her to have more strength and to, clog her view. Keep her out of the lanes, but also knowing that she is a great passer and scorer.
Who would you say?
Keep her out of the paint. She likes to attack, but she can also pass and score. So having a big aggressive guard on her.
Who would you say her NBA equivalent is?
I don't know. Who you think? Who you thinking? I know you got somebody in mind.
I don't know, but I'm gonna tell you why I think that's interesting. Because 2-3 years ago, I was asking people who Tyrese Halliburton's equivalent is, and nobody could give me an answer. And then I watched TV, and now they're making J. Kidd and Rajon Rondo comparisons. I think this is one of those questions that you're not going to be able to answer until you game tape and you see more playoff runs.
Right. And that's the thing for me. Like, I don't like to say things that I'm like unsure of, And like I said, like there's an adjustment from college to pro. Like she was a great college player, but we don't really know pro yet because it's only been like preseason games, that you got to really wait to regular season and like playoffs, like you said, to really like make an assessment.
Ty, you are all encompassing in the sense of the game in and out, the pro game, the college game, and you cool with me despite the fact that you went to James Madison Hofstra all day. That being said, you, to me, are the WNBA's Tupac. I liken you to that because the men like you, the women like you too. How do you pull the girls?
How?
Yes.
I don't know. Like it's funny because I was joking with my friends yesterday. I'm like, it's this whole narrative that I just have all the ladies, right? And I'm like, I literally don't do nothing. Like majority of the time they're hitting on me. And my friends is like, yeah, that's what it is. You smile, you give them this bubbly smile, you make them feel warming and welcoming. And I'm like, I can't help that, but I guess that's just what it is.
Do you accept the Tupac comparison?
I love it. I love Tupac. Like you said, like I love women, but I loved Tupac.
Okay.
So he has a lesbian woman that loves him too. You know what I mean? Like he just was that dude, like smart, intelligent, swag, like charisma. He could give you that aggressive side, but also that soft side is just like he attracts to both worlds.
Scooby Radio chatting with the one and only Ty Young. I want to call you Ty Dollar Sign so bad.
No.
Ty Young does the Scoopy Radio. Subscribe to Scoopy Radio on all streaming platforms. And doing my research, I was reading, and apparently, there were rumors that both you and Drew Sidora were more than just friends. That being said, now you're on Basketball Wives. Lee. What's true? What's false? I hear that all the ladies love you. What's going on?
All the ladies do love me, right? Ming Lee was my girl for almost 9 months. Prior to that, I was single for some years. My relationship before Ming Lee, I was in for almost 8 years. Drew is a good friend. Drew is a good person. So things have been said and done, but I would never speak ill on Drew. I just don't believe in that. And that's just what it is. That's just where it is. You get into relationships where, some friendships are kind of like frowned upon and you want to respect, the relationship that you're in. But at the end of the day, like who I am, I like to show up for my friends. I like to show up for my people.
That's your answer.
That's my answer.
Ming Lee is the homie. She and I go back quite some few years. Drew Sidora, I first paid attention to her on the show The Game. She was fly on the show.
And I've seen, it's crazy because I've seen people speak about that all the time. But I've never watched that show.
Really?
I didn't meet Drew until like 2 years ago. Was my first time even meeting her and know who she was.
It's
But
crazy.
one thing see that I hate is that what my ex kind of put out there was that I cheated on her with Drew. I didn't even know Drew when I was with Mimi.
Hmm.
And we never publicly announced our breakup for the third time, which like I just hate that narrative, that's just still lingering and going around like, oh, she cheated on Mimi with Drew. Like that never happened.
Well, one thing that did happen is this. You are on the new season of Basketball Wives. What was the taping like? How cool was that experience for you?
It was a dope experience, it was very different from when I did Love and Hip Hop with Mimi. Just because like I'm a main cast, I'm able to tell my story. I'm in LA, it's the energy, the sunshine, those ladies, their wives are, ex-wives are exes, to NBA players. So they kind of got a little knowledge about the game. But it was cool. It wasn't bad. I would do it again if I had, the opportunity. But I don't have anything bad to say about the taping or the filming of it. I was going through a public, breakup. That's not good. But I did enjoy it. I did enjoy getting to know the ladies, moving to a different city, state, and enjoying LA.
You've had kind of not even kind of, you've had the advantage of being on other reality television shows. How did that prepare you specifically for Basketball Wives?
I guess just the fact that when you're on reality TV, you have people that feel like they know you. They feel like they know your life, they know everything when they really don't. But you have to have tough skin, you have to be mentally stable because people behind computers, phones, they get on the internet and they say anything. And you could either choose to go back and forth with them and let it consume you and your time, or you can ignore it. And when I first started, I used to have a rebuttal. I used to, because I got a slick mouth, so I would say things back. But in real life, actuality, all they want is some attention. So they want that. And so I just stopped. Now, if I do see anything negative, I just block and I ignore it because we're not dealing with negativity.
Sure. A couple more questions before we get up out of here. You being connected to Chris Paul and you having an eye for the game. I'm just curious. I'm just going to ask this straight up. You look at Stephon Castle, you look at Victor Wembanyama, and you look at Chris Paul. You look at just the whole makeup of the San Antonio Spurs. Imagine a world where Kevin Durant forces a trade to the San Antonio Spurs. What would that look like?
A championship, like dynamic. You got your scorers, you got your point guard, you got your post, you got your versatility. It's like now you just moving players all around. Hard to guard, long, like can just get out. That'd be a great pickup. I don't foresee that, but that would be a great trade.
Houston is the likely fit. Minnesota,
Yeah.
um, but Houston has the assets to make that happen, and something that Phoenix would like, in my opinion.
Yeah. You think they're gonna try to make that happen though?
Yeah, I do. Prior to Kyrie Irving getting hurt, I thought a world where Kai and Kevin reuniting made sense.
Mhm.
But you'd have to move some key pieces on that team in order to make that happen. The only other team that I see that working for outside of Houston, I think the Knicks are clicking on all cylinders. I don't necessarily think they need Kevin Durant at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Houston just fits. I think he fits their timeline specifically because they got everything from positions 1 through 5.
Yeah.
And I think he can actually do less. He doesn't have to do more.
It doesn't matter. Do he want to do less? Because sometimes like through experience and as you grow, it's like, all right, like how can we win this championship? How can I like, take care of my body? But a lot of times when you've been the star for so long, they don't want to do less. They still want to be that go-to and
Look at
do.
LeBron.
Yeah.
Look at LeBron. LeBron, if you, I think we're like-minded on this. When you think of guys who have joined other teams and adjusted their role, LeBron never really had to adjust his role. Maybe to a degree in Miami in year 1, but in year 2, he was back to being the same LeBron. LeBron has always had the ball in his hand.
Yeah.
I feel like Kevin Durant, when he went to the Warriors, he adjusted some because you still got to adjust to Clay and you got to adjust to Steph and Draymond. But I feel like, in my opinion, as you get older, you might want to go to a system in Houston where you're still Kevin Durant, but you can defer some to the other guys on the team. But you bring up a valid point because when you're used to being the man, who wants to transfer school, so to speak, and be the third popular kid when you used to be a number 1?
Exactly. And that's something that a lot of people have issues with. Not even just in the basketball realm, but like in life, in reality. It's like when they're used to that fame, that stardom, it's hard to wind it back.
What was playing in the 2014 WNBA finals like for you?
Like a dream come true, just making it. Our ultimate goal was to win, but the environment, the excitement, like it was surreal. Like it was one of the best feelings in the world, just being in that championship game here in the US, because I, won championships overseas. But just the atmosphere, it's like what you work for, what you work towards.
Unrivaled has given a lot of WNBA players the option to not have to go overseas after the WNBA. Your former head coach, Teresa Weatherspoon, then when you guys worked together with the Chicago Sky, was there this past season. Phil Handy, former assistant coach with the Los Angeles Lakers, was there. Um, I'm curious, because you retired for the WNBA, would you ever want to do that 3-on-3 action as a player, or was it more preferable for you as a coach if you had the opportunity?
I mean, now in the place that I'm in, definitely as a coach. But before I got into this coaching era, I would have loved to come out of retirement and play in that 3-on-3 tournament. Like, you talking about a great opportunity where they're making great money in Miami, an amazing, gym. Like, the luxuries that they were giving those players, it's like, damn, like, I need to come out of retirement for this and can still hoop. Like, I still got it, but I'm just at a different headspace and place in my life. So I would have even wanted the opportunity where I did put my name in the hat to be one of the coaches. It didn't get pulled, but that's just the place that I'm in now is in the coaching era and not player.
Well, with all this reality TV that you're doing and all this basketball knowledge you spitting, and this viral clip you talking about some of your exes, I think a rival may be calling you sooner rather than later. What you think?
Hey, my phone worked. Let's see.
Man, you've been a wealth of knowledge, a ray of light, and the good news is that you're off the hot seat.
Thank you so much. It was a joy and pleasure,
Thank you for your time.
for sure.